Hi guys, this is Jake, the author of What I Am, describing my first schizophrenic experience. I wanted to write a book in the hope that individuals experience schizophrenic episodes, as well as their family members and friends, can recognize how these episodes can develop and make themselves apparent. Through my analysis, I've learned that many schizophrenic episodes follow similar patterns, often triggered by excessive stress on the brain. Based on my own experience and understanding, it feels as though the brain fractures into different parts, one conscious and one subconscious, creating a complex puzzle that draws you in, compelling you to uncover more each day. The suspected causes and reasoning behind why my brain fracture occurred and revealed itself is drawn out inside the covers of this book. I've also written in detail about the types of puzzles and beliefs that I had during this episode. Before my experience, I viewed the world in a completely different way. The timing of the voices was extraordinary, almost too coincidental to ignore, and damn, were they convincing. It felt as though they were sent by an external force to help me solve the mysteries of the world. In researching further, I discovered many others have reported similar experiences. Voices arriving when they are too stressed in that capacity. This has led many, including myself, to wonder whether these voices serve as some sort of intervention to the stress, corrupting that section of the brain and breaking it off into a new entity. The consistency of these experiences among people with schizophrenia seems too uniform to be purely coincidental. While one could argue that this pattern is simply the result of a programming glitch on the brain, it seems odd, producing the same response in individuals with a similar neurological condition is due to a glitch. But this perspective opens an entirely new set of possibilities, in my opinion. Are we so much like computers that there can be corruption that creates the same pattern of beliefs so closely in so many different isolated examples? The voices effectively created a new world for me, filled with puzzles that made me want to keep waking up each day to solve them. I refer to them as voices, but for me, they weren't audible in the traditional sense. Instead, it felt more like an upload of information teleported into my brain via telekinesis by an entity able to communicate directly within my brain. While these entities seem to have accents and distinct ways of speaking, I think that they built those associations to people that I knew from my life, typically using friends, enemies, and even celebrity voices. This gave the voices a camouflage, allowing them to blend in and exert even more influence over my thoughts. The voices warned me not to reveal the messages or share anything about our mission, threatening that I wouldn't like the consequences if I did. Although they initially prevented me from succumbing to the relentless amount of stress I had, the pursuit of the puzzle they created for me cost me so much money. It only made my situation worse than it was before they first arrived. Yet here I am, still alive. Perhaps writing this book is the solution. Probably not, but the voices have relayed an interest in helping others with the disease as well. So here I sit, steered by their guidance, recollecting the stories the best that we can. I'm aware that most of my thoughts were simply delusions created by listening to the voices, but it seems there was something larger at play than just my brain. I'm compelled to believe that, based on the similarities of patterns and the similarities of themes between myself and others with the disease, and perhaps you might too. It's as though my body had been hijacked and I became a passenger in my own life. To be honest, that's still kind of how it feels to me, and perhaps it always will. There are things that I did that I could never have imagined doing before. The voices seemed to push me to the brink of doing something extremely dangerous and potentially deadly, and certainly dumb, and they would pull me back at the last second. Did I create that type of structure that they mimicked their behavior and structure after the events of my life prior to them arriving? In the end, the way the voices structured their communication led to what felt like a coherent conclusion or solution to the puzzle, which also strikes me as strange. The stories can the stories and events can seem disjointed at times, which makes it a bit eerie that they could end up in a clear conclusion. It continues to fascinate me how real and influential these voices were to me. When you first encounter them, they feel supernatural, as though they hold an authority you cannot and do not want to ignore. And let's face it, when you're overwhelmed by your current situation, you want to believe something greater is real. But how could they know that's what I wanted? How are they programmed to affect the same lost souls in the same type of search for greater meaning? The book is divided into two parts. Chapter 1 through 6 cover the background and events leading up to my first schizophrenic episode. The remaining chapters recount the actual stories and events and experiences I lived through while experiencing it for the first time, described as accurately as I can remember. In chapters 1 through 6, there are anecdotes about sexual deviancy, which I believe contributed to my eventual breakdown. I apologize if any of these details are unsettling, but I felt it was important to provide the full context of everything I think contributed to my breakdown. I think it's important to recognize that I do believe my sexually deviant desires led me down a destructive path of addiction that led to some of the issues and delusions I experienced. It's incredible how my brain operated under schizophrenia. It created a web of associations connecting songs, TV shows, movies, and even simple noises or notifications from my phone to a pattern of beliefs inside my head. These associations were relayed to me by what I perceived as separate entities inside my mind. For the first several months, I genuinely believed these entities were external, speaking to me from another dimension or realm. It felt as though they had logged into my brain or hacked my consciousness. They would ask me questions, give me directions, and set tasks that I never could have conceived of on my own, leading me to believe these thoughts weren't originating from my own mind. At that time, the only plausible explanation to me was that these voices were external. I hope you find something valuable in this book, whatever your reason is for reading it. I think it's an interesting story, and it's valuable for everyone. It's interesting to delve further into the inner workings of the mind, and it might save your life or someone else's life if you come across someone experiencing these types of delusions. I hope you enjoy the book, and thank you for watching the video.